Welcome to America!
You're like, we're not in America. You're right, we're not. We're in Canada. Calm the fuck down.
I'm dead.
I'm not actually dead, but I wish I was some days. Two bees. So, I wanted to talk today about tips for working with demons. I had to think about that for a second. I was like, wait, what was the topic again? Okay, so I have never seen one of these videos ever done before. Well, there's tips for like left hand path, and there's like tips for certain demons, and there's tips for like black magic. Oh, I really don't like this concept of black magic. I mean, I don't care if you want to call yourself a black magic practitioner or like left hand path or Luciferian, right? Like, because these are labels that are designed to instill fear. When I tell you I practice black magic or I work with demons, what do you think? What is the first images that come to your mind? Whatever they are, they're not fluffy and bunnies and light and sunshine and rays of hope and all this other stuff, right? It's probably cursing, maybe, I don't know, dancing naked around a fire, chanting the devil's name, or whatever the case may be. And for some of you who used to be Christian or Muslim or Jewish, or other religions, if you think about black magic in terms of Christianity or in terms of any other type of religion, you're going to see darkness. You're going to see misery, pain, suffering, torture, abducting children, right? Like all of these things that you picture, and that's why these labels, they're designed to instill fear, but they only instill fear in the layman, okay? In the person who doesn't understand, in the person who's not a practitioner of this, who thinks it's, I don't know, fantasy or pretend or whatever, right? And it's really interesting that people sometimes think, and there are people out there who think that witchcraft is fake or it's pretend or it's like Harry Potter or whatever. And this misconception where it's like the craft, whatever it is you practice, is not as serious as Christianity. But at the same time, if you go all the way back in time, Christians were terrified of pagans and completely believed that pagan worship and witchcraft, right? The devil, it was evil, it was dark magic, and all of this other stuff. And it's fascinating to see how today no one really, aside from our community and the community on TikTok and so on and so forth, right? Like the social media community, but like the real world community generally thinks of witchcraft as like, that's not real, that's not something that's done. I'm sure there are witches out there, but they don't ride around on broomsticks, right? Like there are some people who kind of believe, but more on the Wiccan side. And then when we talk about our practices, like the Lady Grave Dancers, Luna Wisdoms, Solitary Lunas, Ember Honey Ravens, right? The more obscure practices that aren't Wicca, they don't follow a set path that's in a book somewhere. Some of them are amalgamations of family traditions and spiritual practices and so on and so forth, of just all these different people on the internet. And when we talk about that stuff to the general community, they're just like, is that even real? And I get that with demons, right? Like, can you even work with demons? Like, aren't they Christian? Like, aren't they part of the Christian and Catholic pantheon type thing? And it's like, no, a lot of the demons that you see, and I've given examples over the years, but a lot of the demons that you see used to be pagan gods. I've said this before. It's common knowledge. It's out there. The most common example is Ashtaroth, who's also Ashtaroth, right? A demon, but also a pagan god. This is what the church way back in the day, before you were even a twinkle in your greatest of like 1,000 generations back grandfather, right? So when we work with these types of entities, the first thing we have to do is believe. You have to believe in your craft. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in what it is that you do. That's not just a tip for working with demons. That's just witchcraft in general, because there are some people who come onto this path and they just don't, they go through the motions without believing in the craft. It's like a Christian who's like, okay, or no, a non-Christian, an atheist who's praying, but they don't believe in it, but they're praying. They're just going through the motions. Have you ever been to one of your religious friends' house that you don't share the same religion, but you just go through the motions at their dinner table or whatever to show respect, right? Kind of like how they might go through the motions at your house. I think Lady Gravedancer talked about this because I think her husband is Catholic. I don't know, but when it comes to witchcraft, the point is that you can't go through the motions, because there are no motions unless you're just following a very specific Wiccan tradition or hoodoo path, or even hoodoo isn't motions. There's no set holidays, there's no one ritual that you do every day, or right? Like it's kind of up to you and how you honor the ancestors and the types of things that you need magically, I guess. Whereas in Wicca, there are set holidays, there are certain rituals that you're supposed to do on those holidays, there are certain rituals to do at other times of year, so on and so forth. So Wicca is very more structured than other practices. So that's the only one where I could see that you could just go through the motions and be like, I'm a Wiccan, but I don't really do anything. I just go through the motions because I don't really believe, or right? And then the other thing is to trust. You have to trust yourself, your intuition, and your spirits or your guides or whatever it is that you work with, especially if you're going to be working with demons. Because trusting in yourself and having confidence in yourself and in your magic and in your practice is key, because these fuckers will play off of your insecurities, your fears, and your, I guess, delusions of what you think witchcraft is and what it can get you. But can't the same be said for any other? Yes, any other entity. It's not just demons. People think that demons are evil and tricksters, and they want to fuck with you, and they want to mess with you and possess you and harm you and rape you and do all of these things to you. They don't want to do any of that. They want to give you what it is that you're looking for, because they know that you're going to come back and ask for more because you're not satisfied. That's the whole reason why demons want to work with us, whether we be witches or just layman people, muggles, whatever, right? So their whole goal is to give us what we want, because they know we're going to come back and ask for more. We're kind of like gluttonous, like that fat guy who's driving through McDonald's drive-through, and you're like, do you even need any more McDonald's? Like, what about a treadmill, right? Like, we're those people. And McDonald's is the demons, and we keep coming back. But that's not always the case. It's not always the case. There are some demons, like kings, where you need to establish a relationship and communication. The first thing when it comes to working with demons that you want to do is establish communication. And there are tons of ways to do this. You can go the pure ceremonial magician way with the rituals and the prayers to God and the sigils and the Solomonic path. You can go that way. And a lot of people on the internet will tell you to go that way. And it's a lot of fucking work and a lot of study and a lot of research. And in those cases, what you're going to be doing is demanding the demon or the entity to do what it is that you are telling them to do, or you will threaten them with all kinds of manners of torture and pain, and it's all in the Solomonic books, and it's all documented, and it's there for you to follow if that's the way you want to go. Or the other way is to reach out to a demon the same way you would reach out to other entities. And if you don't know how to do that, then that's your first step of research, is how do I reach out to an entity, a spirit, anything? How do I reach out and communicate with these things? And I wouldn't start with demons if you've never reached out and communicated with anything. The other thing to do is to make sure that you have protection magics in place. I'm not just talking a circle. I'm talking like warding and shielding, okay? Mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, okay? These are the things that you're going to want because, again, unlike other entities, demons do like to test your resolve and figure out where you sit on their little scale, and they will bring their friends. Now, you might be reading about a demon that says it's got 36 legions of spirits, and what does that mean? That's like 36, is that 36,000? How many's in a legion? That's the other thing, is we don't know how many's in a legion. I think it's like 1,000 in a legion or 10,000 in a legion. I don't know, somebody will like clarify below in the comment section. But the point is, they're not going to show up with every single one of their spirits, but they're going to show up with a lot of their spirits. And it can become very overwhelming. And that amount of spiritual energy in your house it's going to exhaust the fuck out of you. So you need to make sure that you are resilient and that you have the strength to withstand that amount of spiritual energy. What does it feel like? It feels like all of the energy, all of the air in the room is sucked out. And it's just filled with this heaviness. And it just feels, to me, it feels like the roof is just coming down and squishing you, and you are fighting to push up against the roof, and it just keeps coming with the pressure and the amount, and the images and the visions and the other stuff that you see and the things that you hear can be very terrifying. But at the same time, you hear about how people's first experience meeting Hecate was scary as fuck, or meeting the Morrigan was scary as fuck, or meeting Thor was scary as fuck. Like, it's no different, but at the same time, it feels like they really want to just kind of push you a little more than usual, right? Those of you who've worked with Papa Legba, or the Orisha would and describe that as a very intense energy, will have a similar understanding of what it's like to work with demons. Because the energy, it's not the same, obviously, but the intensity can be somewhat the same. And I've never worked with the Orisha or Papa Legba, but I have heard others speak of working with them and the intensity of the energy that can come with them, especially if you piss them off, or if you offend them, or if you're just meeting them for the first time, or whatever the case may be. As you develop a relationship with the demon or demons that you're working with over time, it will feel less intense. It will feel like any other entity that you have worked with in the past. Like, you know, when you develop a relationship with the Morrigan and at first it feels like your whole world is falling apart, but later on it just feels like sunshine and rainbows until you need to kick somebody's ass, and then you know that she's at your side and will help you kick that person's ass. That's what it's like with demons. It's intense, and then it's like a friendship. It's less intense. Okay, so those are some of my tips for working with demons. I didn't want this video to go on for decades and years and months and centuries, okay? So I hope you got something out of this. And until next time, my Scooby Doobies and my Looby Doobies.